Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, 50 Facebook Sales in 50 Weeks with your MAPS coach, Deanna Watson. Please note this webinar is being recorded and you'll automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have questions for your coach, please type them into the questions box located in your webinar taskbar. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's coaching call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. All right, that's all for me. Deanna, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Jasmine, and I appreciate each and every one of you being on here with us today. I am super excited for this launch of 50 Facebook Sales in 50 Weeks. Today's webinar is going to be a little bit of information about the program, what you can expect, and a little bit at the end about how the previous testimonies have gone for things that have happened in the businesses of those that have taken this program before you. So a little bit about the program. It is an 8-week program with me. You're going to learn some strategies, tools, and the skills that you're going to be able to use in building your business through social media and having a brand that can turn just your name into a booming business with a whole identity built around Facebook. So one of the things I want you guys to go ahead and do, a few of you at least, is to type into the questions box whether or not you currently have any business going on Facebook. And let's just say the last few weeks of your business, what have you dedicated time-wise into your Facebook brand? So I want to see what we can get some interaction going and also get you guys familiar with the questions box. That way, if you have questions, you know where to put them. So tell me a little bit about what your business currently looks like online. And if you have any questions as you go, you can also use this box to ask them. And I will pause at the end and answer some questions. So we have a few things coming in right now. Some people say just using targeting ads. They have more inquiries than anything else. Posting 2 or 3 times a day, 2 or 3 times a week, not intentional at all. So the most common thing I see going here is not intentional at all or very little intention behind what you're doing. And a really cool thing about this program in particular is that I'm going to show you how to create things like time block calendars, content calendars, pre-scheduled posts, and all of those types of small tips and tricks to be able to make sure that you stay consistent, because we all know that consistency is key. I'm going to walk you through at the beginning of the program. It is going to start with branding. So this program is 8 weeks, and every single week is a step-by-step building on the foundation of week 1 all the way through the analytics of Facebook at the end in week 8. And we're going to go through each week, and the week prior to that is going to allow you to be building upon that on the next week. So it is not anything that's going to be, just throw it all out there and you figure it out. We are going to be building the foundation first and then making sure that you have a sturdy foundation to build your brand around. So we will go through things like branding, what types of branding work well on social media, what types of color works well on social media, and also what I like to refer to as the psychology of color. And so we'll talk a little bit about the colors that you choose in your brand, what psychologically the consumer is thinking about when they see the colors that you've chosen. So you're going to also be given a step-by-step guide for creating a huge business online with Facebook and social media. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, I am a military spouse. We have moved about every 2 to 3 years for the last, I would say, 7 years. And so Facebook is really where I've been able to rebuild myself time after time after time. And just to give you a little bit of a testimony on the things that I've done that I'll be teaching in this class, is it allowed me to move to a new area about 4 years ago. And from knowing absolutely no one, not really ever have been in the area of the country I was living in, using the things I'm going to show you in this program to build a really massive business really quickly. And that's where the title came from. So I did sell 50 homes in approximately a year with 0 ad spend, all through being focused around some of the things I'm going to teach you in this program on Facebook. So this is definitely a personal testimony, but it is also something that creativity from you guys will be allowed to come in and kind of take over the way you want things to go. I'm just providing the roadmap here. So we're going to survey some topics ranging from making sure your colors are correct to something that we would consider digital door knocking and digital farming. So I will teach you guys all about how to place video ads and even lead form ads and brand awareness ads and all of the different types of nuances that any one of you would want to have in your business through social media will be taught in this class. So like I said, if you guys have questions, keep popping them in the box. I do see that some people on here are asking, is this for beginners or advanced? It's a little bit of both, right? So the beginning of the program, for those of you who have a brand or who know exactly what you're doing on Facebook, is a foundational session. So session 1 is very foundational. It's very, let's make sure we're building on the right thing. But as you go along, this is something where I'm giving you the tools and the guidance, and you can make it as advanced or as beginner as you would like. It's a little bit of something for everyone. Also in the program, there are Friday question and answer sessions that are live on our Facebook closed group for this program. So in addition to the webinars, which are 1 hour every single week, you will also get a 30-minute question and answer Facebook live session with me on Fridays. And that's something that will go for the duration of the course. Obviously, there are people who have gone before you guys in this course, and you're going to have access to all of the things that they worked through as soon as you join the Facebook group. Once you sign up for the program, none of that stuff has been deleted. So all of the content from all of the previous sessions and all of the previous classes are still in there. So this can, this is something that Jessica asked. So Jessica, this is something that can work for beginners, but can also be something that people who know their way around Facebook can still learn quite a bit from. If anybody needs any kind of testimony, I would say I can send that to you if you just reach out to me on Facebook. For people who are all ranges, in the last class had a whole lot of success with things. The other thing that we're going to learn is how to analyze all of this and what does it mean. And when you're analyzing it, how do you change it to make your results better? And you're going to also be taught how to place ads in front of the demographic of people or the target market or the niche, whichever you'd like to call it, of folks that you want to be in front of to get your message across and get the most bang for your buck. We covered this a little bit, but I'm going to go over the session layout. So the program is going to be 8 weeks long. And like I said, it's going to be a building phase, start to finish, with starting on building your page the right way, creating branding, how to place ads correctly, digital door knocking, and some content marketing will be sprinkled in there as well. In the last class, I got a lot of questions about which wording works best, which photo works best. Talk to me about how you are going to place the ad and timing and all of that. And all of these things are covered. I do, however, want to give you guys a little bit of content to take away, because I want to make sure that you are on this webinar and you're getting something from this other than just to hear about what the program is about, right? So one of the things that we talk about in the first session is defining your brand, making sure that you are speaking to the right people that you want to speak to, that you have identified as those that you want to work with. And one of the ways that you'll want to define that audience is to think through the age of people you want to work with. Think through the lifestyle of the people you want to work with. And then from there, you're going to be able to target their interests, which I will show you guys how to do this in your Facebook ads, but this is just something that's food for thought until the class starts in a couple weeks. Age is really important, or type of lifestyle is also really important. And the reason I say that is, in the course we show you guys a little more in depth, but I'm going to do a breeze over of it right now. Let's say that your target audience is someone who is a baby boomer generation, and you're making this great flyer, you're putting it out on Facebook, and it's falling short. No one is looking at it, right? And you may be wondering, why does nobody respond to this? And if I were to see the ad, maybe it's really wordy and the font is really small. And so some of the things that are taught in this class is how to match the correct font size, and correct message for every audience that you have. Same thing the other way around. If your target is millennials and you're not being trendy enough, there you go. I'm going to be able to show you a couple of tips to adjust your ads to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. The other thing that you can target through Facebook that I would want you guys to think about over the next couple of weeks until the course starts is socioeconomic status, interest, and geographic area. these are all things that you can do specific targets for in Facebook, and they all define your audience. Okay. And some people say, how do you pick one? I don't want to pick just one subset of people that I work with. And the cool thing is with Facebook, you don't have to. So you can pick one audience that one message goes into their inboxes, where the other message goes on to news feeds. And no one who's not in that audience knows that you're placing ads for the other type of people that you want to work with. And so this kind of creates this environment where you can be specializing in a couple of different demographics, all while keeping a uniform brand on your Facebook business page. Because the trick of actual ads instead of boosted posts, which we'll get into also in the program, the trick that's really cool about ads is that the people who are not specifically targeted in that ad will not see it, because it does not go on your Facebook business page. It's something that's run through Ads Manager and is sent out to these people themselves. So one of the most popular questions that I got in the last class is, how do you do that and stay within fair housing, right? So this is something we spoke a lot about. And as long as you're not segregating people away from what a fair housing issue would be, like age, blah, 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 as long as you're not segmenting and saying these people can't get this and giving equal opportunity for the ad to go out to everyone, it's not necessarily a violation of fair housing. You're not saying I'm not going to work with certain types of people. It's just that you're creating different ad copy that would be received well by different types of people that you want to work with. So for example, the example I gave a minute ago with creating an ad copy that has larger font or maybe a little bit different photos for the baby boomer generation, you could create the same ad and run that same ad to the millennials, and maybe you just change the font, change the color, change the photos. You are technically not being discriminatory because you're giving the ads a chance to go to whomever. You're just targeting what is actually on that ad to make sure that it would be well received by the people you're sending it to. So by no means am I saying you're going to not send things to certain people or you're going to only go after one demographic. Basically, the course creates awareness around when you're placing ads in front of certain people, here are the things that they all want to see. So for example, an ad you're going to put in front of someone who you determine you want this ad to go to someone 20 to 40 years old would likely be a different ad with different photos and different, slightly different font, the same message, but a different thing that they would relate to and they would want to open the ad for that would go to an older crowd. So this isn't I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. This is just using advertising to kind of change the message to relate to certain people. It's not anything that would be a violation of fair housing, as long as you're not saying that you don't want to work with certain types of folks. And that's not at all what we were talking about here. So I did see a question about that, and just to kind of go into that, that's not against fair housing because you're not saying that you don't want to work with them. You're just changing the message to make sure it resonates with certain types of people. One question I do want to ask you guys to pop in the question box. If you already know who your audience is, so for example, I know that my audience is usually someone who is between the ages of 22 and 40, and they are a member of the U.S. military. That is just because of where I live. So everything that I do, I keep that in mind. Not saying we won't work with anyone. It's just that's normally who we're targeting because that's who lives here. So if you already know that you have a particular target audience, pop it in the questions box. Who are they? Go ahead and say who it is that, if you had your ideal situation, who do you want to work with? What would your ideal client be? Abby said, thank you for clarifying. You are welcome. All right, so I see 30 to 65 years old, 22 to 35 college grads. Adam, that is very specific. Awesome. Young professionals, first-time home buyers, millennials, retirees, baby boomers. Jessica, awesome. So we're getting a really wide variety. So it seems like this particular session of the course would work well for everyone. First-time home buyers, investors, second home, move up, empty nesters, referrals. Jill Rice, that's awesome. Probate, cool. So basically with all of these varying answers, what the course is going to show you how to do in particular sessions is how to take the target audience that you have and have everything that you put out in a message make sure that your message is resonating with them. While it may not be resonating with others, that's okay, because who you want to work with is who you want to work with. So I'll teach you how to use things like color, font, ad copy, and make sure that the message is getting well received by everyone. Next question. So everybody take the audience that you just popped into the questions box, and I want you to follow it up with this answer. What is your current message to that audience? So if I were a baby boomer, for example, a few of you said baby boomers. If I were a baby boomer, I'm going to use Jessica because you said baby boomers last. If I were a baby boomer, Jessica, what message would I see from what you're placing on Facebook? And I want everybody else to walk through that with me as well. So what message are these people seeing from you when they read what you're writing? Go ahead and pop that in there. The other thing, and as these are coming in, one of the other things that we'll talk to you guys about how to do is how to create what we call a micro niche, if you want to, or micro niche, depending on what part of the country you're in. Basically, that's just taking a subset of your target audience and boiling it down to the point where you would know if someone walked up to you whether they are in that niche or not. And I use the example of Democrat and Republican because obviously that's one that's really, really widely known in the United States. And it seems kind of polarizing. And yet what we found is people who are so, what we've always been taught is be very, what I would say, vanilla, very neutral to where anyone would want to work with you. And yet what we're seeing over time is that actually is changing, right? And what is changing is that the more you hone in on who you are and who you want to work with, the larger amount of repeat and referral business you're getting from these people because you are so in tune with them that they know, like, and trust you, and they have friends who also know, like, and trust you. So we talk a little bit in the first session, like right out of the gate, about how to do that, and if that's something that you would choose to adopt in your business or not. All right. The other thing that we walk through in the first few sessions is logo and branding. And so I know that in the Facebook group right now from the last class, there's a lot of different people who have given opinions on logos. And so while I will be guiding you through those things, one really cool thing about this course is that there is a mastermind group involved where you can put your logo out to every other realtor in this particular course and say, what would you pick? And so it's one honest, really cool thing about the last class was that we had so many people, like 300 or so people who were giving opinions on what would be received well. And of course, you know, sometimes that can be a little daunting, and yet it ended out to be really good for the people in the course because they got other ways that they weren't even thinking about doing things. So it was pretty neat. All right, so the other thing that we talk about for those of you with teams are how to create a social media policy for your team, your brokerage, those of you who are OPs or team leaders in the room, or in the webinar room essentially. How do you create a proper social media policy to make sure that what your agents or your teammates is putting out to the social media world mirrors and matches what you believe to be true for your business? Because of course they are in your business. And I will also offer up different things that we do in our team. I also show you guys in the group my social media policy so that you have it if you want to look through it. I would obviously advise that you contact your own attorney to draw that up, but different examples of things are offered, different screenshots of what ads have been placed throughout the group that work are offered in here as well, so you can get a different perspective. All right, so moving through, the next thing that I want to make sure you guys know about are social media best practices. So during the course, one of the things that most everyone raved about and had really positive feedback about over the previous sessions was best practices and very actionable things that they could take away that day and put into their business. So through the duration of the course, some of the best practices you will have will be around things like building your brand, building your social media awareness, the best times to post, what to post during those times, and all of these things. So if you guys want, because I know that this is a really funny point in the last course, everybody was like, well, what's your social media stuff? So I can go stalk your page. Obviously, my name's on here, Deana Watson, D-E-A-N-A, Watson, spelled normally. This is currently what my Facebook page looks like. So if you guys want to go ahead and social stalk all of what we do, you're more than welcome. Rip off and duplicate anything you wish. That is one thing I love about teaching this course, is because anything that we do, I will give you the roadmap to show you how. You're more than welcome to rip off and duplicate anything that we use. And then anything you want to send me to see what my opinion is, I'm more than happy to do so. One of the things that we know is that brand awareness has to transpire over everything that you do and everywhere you go. And so I will show you how to make sure that all of your social media profiles, to include everything you do marketing offline, correlates with one another, right? So that you have the same look and the same message over and over and over again. The next thing that we walk through is, of course, placing ads. You'll learn how to place an ad, where to place them, and what we like to call a new age digital twist on door knocking and open houses virtually. So one of the most, I would say, raved about sessions in the last course was how to target expires and for sale by owners digitally. And basically what you can do in social media, and as Facebook changes their rules, which they will be here pretty soon, to where this will not be the way you do this anymore. But right now, what you can do is take an address on Facebook and you can pop it in there and create an ad that goes to a very small, basically radius or mileage around that address. And so let's say that you have an expired or for sale by owner. We'll go with this for sale by owner. So you look on your Mojo or your Vulcan or your MLS, and you see there's a new expired, or Vulcan would be a new for sale by owner, or you see it pop up on Craigslist, right? And the first thing you want to do is call them, which is obviously the first line of defense. And then you're like, well, how in the world do I reach them? I don't have time to drive out there. One of the best ads we ever placed for sale by owner was one that was a yard sign that looked like tree roots growing into the ground. And it says, "You selling yourself, making you grow roots?" ? And we take those ads and we will place them right over top of the address of that for sale by owner. So they'll be able to get a phone call from us. They'll get a text message from us. When they go home and their phone GPS crosses the plane of that radius we put online, they'll see, is your listing growing roots? And then likely a couple days later, due to mail time, they'll get something in the mail. And so essentially you are bombarding these people in every avenue you possibly can to make sure that you're getting the listings, which is what's most important. So the ads that we talk about in this course will encompass things for open houses, things for sale by owners, expired, buyers, sellers, all of that. So it's a very wide variety. As I talked about before, some additional perks of being in the course is that you do have it taught by somebody who's actively in the real estate industry. And so things that don't work for me, I post on there, hey, I did this and it failed miserably. I was telling them the last live that we did, because the course just ended, I accidentally placed an ad the wrong way, and it was $150 later before I realized I did it. And I went in there and talked about how I did it incorrectly and here's what not to do. So because I'm actively working in this, two things. One, I'm knowing what works and what doesn't work. And two, I'm also keeping up on the changes of Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, because we all know that they like to shake stuff up a little bit for us. And so anytime something changes, that will be brought to you for sure, so you know how to change your ads. Every week on Fridays, there will be a mini training session inside of our Facebook class group online, to where it's live. You can come in and ask or answer any questions you have on there. There's also weekly tips and tricks posted. Graphics of things that I've gotten really good responses from are going to go in there. And then I also really encourage everybody in the group to share and get feedback, and that's gone really well in the past. So here are some of the program details. The program is an hour webinar, and it is going to be no more than an hour. Usually it takes about 45 minutes, and we have the last 15 minutes for question and answer. It is once a week, and the program will start on July 10th. One thing to keep in mind is that for those of you who are going to Mega Camp, those of you who are going to Mega Camp, there will be a week in there that is skipped due to the Mega Camp schedule. So make sure that you keep that in mind when you're scheduling your own self, so that you're not putting a course or a meeting after we should. The course is going to be from 4 to 5 Eastern time, which would be 3 to 4 if you're in Central. It would be 2 to 3 if you're in Mountain Time, and if you're on the West Coast, it would be 1 to 2. Everything is recorded, and even this will be recorded. And so the last time we had people ask questions, hey, if I miss a session, how do I go back and listen to it? All of it's recorded. As soon as you sign up today, you'll get a client portal that you'll be able to access all of the workbooks, anything that is sent over, any recordings that happen. So within 24 hours, the recordings will be up, so you can re-listen to it if you want to, or if you had to miss it, or if something happens in your life that you can't be on at that time and you still want the content and want to take the course. The only thing that would be different for you would be that you'd be listening to this webinar, kind of like we're on right now, on recording. So if you are willing to take this journey with me, I would love to show you how to make a massive amount of money using Facebook for your brand and to create brand awareness for you. And one thing I'd like to ask you guys is, let's say that you're intimidated about the number 50, right? So 50 sales for anyone is a lot. It is a lot. And I know that because I am a MAPS mastery coach, I coach agents one-on-one every week. And one of the things that they have fear around is not knowing what success at that level could look like. And they tell themselves this story of, if I sell, what in the world would I do if I sold that many homes? I'd be so busy and I would just be so crazy and I'd be running around and, oh my gosh, I can't fathom it, right? And so instead of diving in and figuring it out, they sometimes back up and say, I can't, because I don't know what that looks like. And what I want to ask you right now, and I want you all to break out your calculators. We got about 5 more minutes and we'll be getting you on about your way on time. But let's just say that you sold 5 instead of 50. The course cost $198 total for the 8 weeks. And plus you get all the content that was posted in the group beforehand, all the content that will be posted in the groups after you, because I don't remove you out of the mastermind group. You will always stay in there no matter what. After you've enrolled in the course, you stay in there forever. So the course is $198, and it's for the duration of the 8 weeks. Now let me ask you, your average commission check times, let's say you even sold 5 homes by what we teach you here. I want you to put it in the questions box. What would your return be? So you're going to invest $198, and let's say you only sold 5 in the next 12 months instead of the 50, which is a large, scary number. What would your return on 5 closings be based on your average commission price? Now for me, I'm seeing big numbers here, so this is great. For me, our average commission price is $5,000. So if I sold 5, I'd make $25,000 for a $200 investment. So I don't want you guys to go in here and think you have to do the 50, that I'm going to push you for 50 or nothing else matters. And what's real here is that if you even invested $198 in yourself and you learned how to sell 1 additional home, every person on this call would have a return, a massive one. I'm seeing numbers 45,000, 62,000, 37,000, 50,000, 30K. Somebody on here posted $125,000, and I just want to come to work where you live. If that's your ROI, that's fantastic. So if you have any questions, you guys saw how you can get a hold of me on Facebook. My name is Deana Watson, Deana Watson. On my Facebook page will be the quadrants of the blue that you saw. So if you have questions after this webinar, you can either email the fasttrack@kw.com for any type of procedural questions. But if you have a, hey, I really want to know, are you going to teach this type of questions, please shoot those over to me, and I would be absolutely thrilled to answer them for you. If you want to sign up, one of the things I would tell you is basically whenever you respond to this, if you were to go on to, well, first of all, you can send me a message and I can send you the link directly, or you can go on to MAPS Group Coaching, their website, click on group, you will find the session here, the 50 Facebook Sales in 50 Weeks session under the marketing section. You can click sign up there, and it will also give you the schedule for every call and the time. So, Allie, I hope that helped you. The date and the time, again, is July 10th is the first session. And then it is every single Wednesday thereafter it'll be a duration of 9 weeks because we're skipping Mega Camp Week. And the time is 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. 3 to 4 Central, 2 to 3 Mountain Time, and 1 to 2 Pacific Time. It is on a Wednesday. Do we discuss retargeting ads? Yes. And then another thing that will be added this session that we didn't have in the last one based on the feedback they gave me was how to also use Facebook Pixel to make sure you're retargeting off of Facebook onto other websites and that your ads are following around. You guys will all be getting this recording in your email. So if you have any questions after that, like I said, my name is Dina Watson. I would absolutely love to answer any of them. It looks like most of the questions that I've seen come through the questions box are answered. However, you guys, they are a little delayed. So if I didn't answer something you asked, it's not that I'm ignoring it. It's just that the questions box is delayed a little bit from when you type it in and hit enter. So if there's any outstanding stuff, please let me know. If not, I look forward to seeing all of you in the July 10th launch. You guys have a fantastic Tuesday, and I will chat with you soon.